Why was he left in such a state? How did it get this far without anyone knowing? And why is Jungkook, usually calm and composed, suddenly unable to hold back his tears? The photo that began circulating around 6:42 p.m. Korea Standard Time yesterday was one that no ARMY was prepared to see. Not after the months of silence. Not after the encouraging military updates. Not after the smiles from Taehyung and the letters from Jungkook that reassured everyone that everything was okay. But everything was not okay. In the photograph, Jimin is barely recognizable. Pale, unconscious, with visible medical tubes and facial bruises that raise questions no fan wants to ask but can't stop thinking about. Was this the result of an accident? An act of negligence? Or something even more heartbreaking? Was Jimin pushing himself past his own limits in silence, hiding his pain in the name of duty? Within hours, online platforms like Weverse, Twitter, X, and Naver were flooded with cries of disbelief, hashtags like #ProtectJimin, #JungkookCried, and #WhatHappened to Jimin trending globally. Fans scrambled to find out what had happened, where it happened, and most terrifying of all, if he was going to be okay. He wasn't supposed to be there that day. According to one anonymous insider from the 5th Infantry Division where Jimin is currently enlisted, the tragic incident occurred during an unscheduled high-intensity obstacle simulation drill. This drill was reportedly meant for a different battalion, but, due to a last-minute roster switch, Jimin's name was added to the list. There were rumors that some soldiers volunteered, the source explained, but others were assigned due to rotation. Jimin wasn't supposed to be there that day. That's the part that's haunting everyone now. The accident reportedly happened during a segment involving physical endurance under harsh conditions, including crawling through mud under barbed wire, weighted sprints in full gear, and jumping through high walls while carrying heavy equipment. Something went wrong after the third sequence, the insider added. He collapsed. People thought he was just tired, but he didn't get back up. It took the drill instructors over 45 seconds to realize Jimin wasn't moving. By then, witnesses say his breathing was shallow and erratic. Medical staff rushed in with an emergency stretcher, and he was immediately transported to the base hospital before being airlifted to a regional military medical center. Jungkook was the first to find out, but he said nothing for hours. What followed next was a storm of silence from HYBE, the Korean military, and BTS's official channels. But it wasn't the organization's silence that disturbed fans the most, it was Jungkook's. Normally quick to check in with armies during moments of uncertainty, Jungkook went completely dark for nearly a full day following the photo leak. It was only later that a junior official from Jungkook's own barracks revealed that he had received the news almost immediately after it happened. He didn't say a word when he got the call, the official shared. He went to his bunk, sat down, and just stayed there. His face turned white. A few people tried to comfort him, but he just shook his head. Then, according to another source who asked to remain anonymous, Jungkook was seen writing something quietly on a piece of paper late that night, alone by candlelight in the emergency blackout shelter of the camp. He wrote for hours, the source said. Tears were falling, but he just kept writing. We saw him cry. That's when we knew it was real. Fans aren't used to seeing Jungkook cry. Even in the most emotional BTS moments, winning awards, saying goodbye before enlistment, he has always been the rock, the youngest who carries everyone with strength and resilience. But not this time. The moment fans saw a shaky 14-second clip posted anonymously on a military community forum, everything changed. The grainy video showed Jungkook stepping out of the infirmary area, eyes red, wiping his face with a military issue cloth. He didn't say anything, but he didn't have to. We saw him cry. One fan wrote on Weverse. That's when we knew it was real. Jimin's really hurt. Others agreed, pointing out how uncharacteristic it was for Jungkook to show any outward emotion in uniform. Military decorum typically demands composure, but emotions, especially those tied to someone as close as Jimin, aren't so easy to suppress. I don't care what protocols say, another fan posted. If Jungkook is crying, something is seriously wrong. The brothers bond closer than blood. For years, armies have witnessed the special bond between Jungkook and Jimin evolve from playful brotherhood to something far deeper. They've seen the two share hotel rooms, travel together, laugh uncontrollably during V-Lives, and comfort one another during emotional award speeches. But fans also remember the quiet moments, the way Jungkook always knew when something was wrong with Jimin before anyone else. The way he always stood behind him in group formations, the way he wordlessly passed him water bottles on stage when Jimin looked dizzy, the way he would subtly adjust Jimin's mic or jacket so he wouldn't struggle. Those small acts have now taken on a much heavier meaning. Jungkook always knew when Jimin wasn't okay, a fan account posted. So if he's this broken now, then Jimin must really be in a bad state. HYB breaks the silence, but raises more questions than answers. At 11:45 a.m. Korea Standard Time today, HYB finally released an official statement confirming that Jimin was undergoing treatment after an incident during military training. However, they refused to elaborate on the nature of the injury or his current condition. The artist is currently under the care of military medical professionals and receiving appropriate treatment. We ask for your understanding and support, the statement read. But it wasn't enough. Not for the fans who have waited months to hear updates. Not for those who are now seeing their worst fears manifest in the form of leaked hospital images. Why hasn't there been a clearer update? Why are sources inside the military giving more details than the official agency? And why, if he's in treatment, did one insider say that Jimin was being moved to a restricted medical ward with limited visitation access? Is this just about medical privacy? Or is there something far more serious happening behind those closed hospital doors? The last message before the accident, a clue left behind. 2 days before the accident, Jimin wrote a short message in his military diary, reportedly shared with one close friend, now circulating in fan forums under the pseudonym L. It reads, "No matter how tired I am, I always remind myself that someone is waiting for me out there. If I collapse, I hope it's from running toward the light, not away from it." The haunting nature of that message has led many to believe that Jimin may have already been struggling, physically or emotionally, long before the accident took place. Was this a premonition? Was he trying to push through something he didn't tell anyone about? Was Jungkook aware? Fans have begun piecing together subtle signs, including footage from before enlistment where Jimin appeared more fatigued than usual during interviews, often rubbing his temples or spacing out mid-sentence. Was he already carrying too much on his shoulders before he stepped into his military role? And if so, who knew and who didn't? He visited the hospital in secret. New reports surfaced late last night. Unconfirmed but widely circulated reports began to trickle out from a military medical staff forum, suggesting that Taehyung was granted permission to visit the restricted ward where Jimin is being treated. He was quiet, dressed in standard fatigues, and didn't speak to anyone except the lead nurse, said one alleged witness. He only stayed for 10 minutes. Then he left. No photos, no statements, just silence. But fans began to interpret that silence not as absence, but as anguish. One Army on Twitter speculated, Taehyung is probably too heartbroken to speak. What if seeing Jimin in that state broke him too? Another wrote, he's grieving. In his own way. I bet he's writing something right now, something he'll release when he's ready. Remember how he processed his grandmother's death? He didn't post for weeks. But when he did, it shattered us. What's becoming clear is this. Whatever Taehyung saw in that hospital room, it affected him so deeply that he couldn't bring himself to pretend. And maybe that's the most heartbreaking confirmation of all, that a fanbase in mourning. The global reaction that proves how loved Jimin truly is. As the hours passed after the initial reports, the world's emotional response escalated into something rarely seen, even in BTS history. Candlelight vigils appeared in Seoul, Tokyo, Manila, and even parts of Europe and South America. Fans held up printed photos of Jimin smiling, contrasted painfully with the stark, sterile image of him unconscious in the hospital. Online, thousands wrote letters addressed to Park Jimin, soldier, fighter, angel, hoping their words could somehow reach him through the cold hospital walls. Messages like, "Please come back to us. We'll wait 1,000 years if we have to. You taught me how to love myself. Now it's our turn to remind you how loved you are. If you can hear us, just blink. We'll feel it in our hearts." Even non-fans joined in, some posting messages like, "I didn't follow BTS, but seeing Jungkook cry made me cry. Jimin must be someone special." One child was seen holding a handmade sign outside the HYB building that read, "Please save the man who saved my mom from depression." The image quickly went viral.